What do you think about
I
the
know,
new
but that's your
FOIA and the
daughter.
videos coming out?
Well, I hope they all come out soon.
You're
What do
hopeful
you
for them to come out?
Yeah, I want all of them to come out.
Gypsy's
I
not
want.
worried?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I think that it's important for everyone to see
Hey,
everything.
keep making content.
Hey friends, I hope everyone's doing good in the cold. I was looking through Gypsy Rose Blanchard's My Time to Stand for some information, and I just come across so many passages that made me go, girl, what? Or laugh out loud or get a little angry that I decided to just do a video, read, and react with y'all, friends. Let's take a look. Now, unfortunately, in my screenshot, I didn't note the exact pages or chapters, but these are screenshots out of the book. So here we go. This is the first one that made me raise my eyebrows. And it's because we saw so often in her emails, we all found it really strange how she was constantly going from sexual talk to talking about her dad. It was just weird. And then we find her doing it often in her book, too. It seems almost like a compulsion. So, first lie here, she tells about Colin to be like, Daddy, I'm innocent. I never hurt mama. And we all know that was bullshit. But then after that, she says, up to this point, my dad and I had never had a private phone call, nor a phone conversation that went beyond the superficial small talk that acquaintances do about the weather or football. I find that really hard to believe now that we've gotten so much information of their Facebook history in the latest FOIA. Thank you, Into the Weeds. Rod and Christy were all up in their Facebook, and Dee Dee was trying to push a call onto them with Gypsy all the time. And on that trip where they went to Memphis or wherever, where Rod and Christy are like, oh, yeah, we tried to get a hold of them. We wanted to go see Gypsy. Dee Dee wouldn't allow it. Now we find out Dee Dee actually asked them to come get Gypsy and take her with them. And Rod was like, well, I don't know. Logistically, that could work out. Old Pimp Juice didn't want to be held back. Okay, anyway, back to the book. And I apologize if there are a lot of jump cuts, friends. My allergies are bad. So, yeah, and I don't want to subject y'all to any sneezing. Okay, Gypsy says, Dad was so unbelievably calm. His voice was steady. I found myself wishing I could surrender to his lead, not the way a submissive does, but the way a little girl feels safe doing so around her daddy. Now, with most any other people, that wouldn't be weird. But once again, it's Gypsy Rose. We've seen her patterns. And now we know a lot more about how into the daddy dom little girl play she was and how much she tried to continue that in her pen pal relationships in prison. So it just makes me look at this 2024 stuff different. What do y'all think, friends? Am I right or am I reaching? Let me know. You get the next screenshot. Okay, the next page says, it's okay, don't worry, okay? Dad said in his buttery Cajun accent, just hang tight. We will get you through this. I so desperately wish I could trust him. What's wrong with me? Well, you're a murderer, girl, for a start, you know? What do y'all think, friends? Gypsy says, my dad's job as a trawler requires him to remain calm when the sea tries to swallow a crew whole, even though he was grappling with his own shock, confusion, and anger about the scam that defined his life. My dad planted his feet behind the captain's wheel, navigating me the way he was never allowed to when Mama was around. We see that he didn't want to. What do y'all think, friends? Gypsy says we said our goodbyes. Soon I'd see him in Missouri when we would begin working with my Missouri-appointed public defender, Mike Stanfield. So she does confirm in her book that she already knew Mike Stanfield's name and that he was her public defender when she was in Wisconsin. I know some people have said that's strange. Some people say it's normal. I don't know enough about this process to know, friends. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments. Gypsy says, while I waited to be transported to Missouri, I was still in the phase where I believed Nick loved me and I loved him. We would accidentally pass each other in county jail with our attorneys shielding us from making eye contact. I was angry and sad because I felt betrayed by his interrogation video. I really thought he would never sell me out. But even though I was hurt, I couldn't help worrying about what was going to happen to him. I thought that was revealing, friends. It's ridiculous. You know, she felt betrayed by his interrogation video. He should feel betrayed that she convinced him to do this. Anyway, and By seeing his interrogation video, we know she knows that Nick, with his low capacity, only sold her out because he believed, via the police officer interrogating him, that Gypsy had already had and that he needed to do the right thing for her. Now, y'all know I am not the biggest Nick defender. I think he's right where he should be. However, he wasn't treated fairly in some parts. I can acknowledge that, definitely. And also, it's not fair for Gypsy to have done what she did to get him in the position he's in and then continue trying to make him worse just to, as she said, stronger her public image. Remember in the interrogation videos, friend, she said she was supposed to be in an arranged marriage to stronger the shrimp industry. Lord. Gypsy says that her and Nick continued writing notes to each other. And he said, I need you to be brave. And she said, I'm sorry you're going through this. She says he quoted the Bible that he translated as something like wives are supposed to be submissive to their husbands. And she says, love is patient and kind, not dominant and submissive. I don't recall the Bible saying love is deviant and humiliating, but before the crime, I mistook these behaviors for attention. She says, being submissive was also familiar. My mother had wanted an infant. Nick wanted a slave. Well, we know that in her prison emails, she wanted to be a baby, a dog, all kinds of things. Like, what has changed? That's my question. If all that was forced on her and it was so traumatizing, where's the change, friends? She might be hiding it now, but, we've saw. Okay, the next one, she complains about the plastic seat on the bus. She says, my hands were handcuffed behind my back and my feet shackled. I fidgeted my tailbone around, finding a place to fit the curve of the seat. 2 men were being dropped off in St. Paul, Minnesota, also cuffed and shackled. She says, I tried to look anywhere around the van, but at them. Girl, one of the men said, you all over the news. You're going to death row. This is my first glimpse of public attention my case would attract. We saw her brag all the time before the murder about what a public figure she was. And we also saw her Googling the murder after she made the Facebook post. She knew. She already knew. That's just another lie. In 2024, she's still telling a shit ton of lies about this. She says, even prisoners without access to television knew about Nick and me. They're having a good time fucking me, going on and on about my fate, watching me freak out. Then she says, after the van dropped them in St. Paul, we stopped at McDonald's where I had biscuits and gravy for the first time. I won't go into details, but everyone who's been around the Gypverse knows the other biscuits and gravy story. So considering that, it's kind of weird that she goes right into saying, I only remember eating biscuits with Daddy Claude, but we always had butter. And then she says a weird thing. She says, for Southerners, biscuits, let me get the next one. Biscuits and gravy represent the simple life, sweet and salty. I'm glad I savored the taste because that was as good as it was going to get for a very long time. What the hell is she talking about? Biscuits and gravy are not sweet and salty. They're all savory. Sausage gravy is savory. You pepper it, you get some Lowry seasoned salt or Morton's if that's your preference, whatever. What is she talking about? Biscuits with butter and honey or biscuits and jelly. That's sweet. Maybe slightly salty, depending on how your biscuits are made. But like biscuits and gravy being sweet and salty, what is she talking about? She just makes no sense, friends. Anyway, as a biscuit and gravy lover, that irritated me. That just sounds so dumb. Okay, next screenshot. Okay, now we know we're at chapter. We're on 17. You've made your bed. Now lie on it. Yeah, Gypsy. People were reeling. I could walk. I can eat. The wheelchair was an unnecessary prop. Well, of course they were reeling. And she acts like she's so shocked that people were reeling. But we saw in that video that she sent to Nick where she says, I know that if I told my secret, everyone would hate me. And that she kept it from her mom for so long because she thought her mom wouldn't love her as much. She knew how it would be. Anyway, then she says, feeding tube, a mirage. While it would have been safe to assume all my other ailments were fake, it would have been dangerous not to treat me for them, at least so they could confirm what was real and what wasn't. In order to do that, once I got to Greene County Jail, I was placed under surveillance. Yeah, I don't know fully how to answer why, if Gypsy was getting treatment for something as serious as cancer, as it looks like she might have been from some of the medical records that have come out. Go check out Audacious Audrey if you want to see what I'm talking about. She's done videos on this. If that was the case, I don't understand why none of that needed to continue in prison. Now, about the feeding tube, I can see that because we know Gypsy has demonstrated possibility of having eating aversions, like, but the context clues that she's given us, it just really looks like that's the case. And with that being the case, in prison, in my opinion, it seems like it was easier for her to maintain the kind of diet that she had with Dee Dee, where she only ate the same things all the time. Only whenever she come out was she being pressured, especially in front of cameras, because she decided to be a public figure on Lifetime, being pressured to try new things and stuff. And her aversions started becoming more clear. What do y'all think, friends? Am I right or am I reaching? And now that she's come out, had a baby and everything, she's rapidly losing weight, which makes some people question even more. But if she was being treated for cancer, I don't know how that explains suddenly going away unless, she was fully in remission. But that wouldn't seem to be the case because staying at Hope Lodge requires, anyway, I'm just rambling on, friends. Gypsy says, "What meds did I really need? What diseases did I really have? What symptoms or withdrawals was I exhibiting?" You notice how she doesn't say anything about how she was faking stuff to her mom even before the murder. She wanted to keep that a dirty little secret, friends. Into the Weeds made sure that it happened. Thank you, Amber. Then Gypsy complains about county jail and where she was placed. She says, "County jail is a despicable place. It was dirty and crowded. The food was expired and toxic. The people were ruthless no matter what tier they were on. Tier 1 was for holding prisoners charged with lesser crimes like drug offenses and prostitution. The women there shared an open bay pod, a dormitory-style area with several bunk beds, and a communal area and shared facilities." Then on the next page, she says, "People charged with more heinous and violent crimes like murder were housed on tiers 2. That's where they put me. All the inmates at county have not yet had their day in court. Idle, they await their fate. Boredom." She sounds so shocked that they put the murderer with murderers. You know what I mean, friends? She says, "Boredom plus lockup is not a good combination. I'd wait more than a year to see a judge and receive my sentence. Until then, I learned quickly how to protect myself from the horrors of living among hopeless and desperate criminals, many of whom were repeat offenders. Many had not much to lose." As if she hadn't planned for 2.5 years to murder her mama, friends. All the while being like, "I am Demona and I'm great at stealing." Which I've learned from y'all, she actually wasn't. That the stuff that she said was BS and wouldn't actually work with the barcode down crap. She says, "Maybe whoever was calling the shot thought I'd be safer in a segregated suicide watch because I'd be separated from the rest of the population and heard about my case and might harass me. Or maybe it was to protect me from violence. Or maybe it was because they were reviewing these videos and messages with Nick and saw that she threatened unaliving herself many, many times, friends. What do y'all think?" Now, this part cracked me up. She says, "I had gone from living a sheltered, isolated life to living with wolves who showed their teeth to assert power." She thought she was a wolf and a dog. Part wolf, part dog. Oh, when you know the inner workings of this, all her book becomes a comedy, friends. It's like a comic book. She says, "I thought they were trying to torture me and teach me a lesson. I kept thinking about the 2 men in the van in St. Paul. Maybe this is a prequel to Death Row." Well, it could have been because Mike Stanfield said the death penalty was not off the table for Gypsy until he come up with Munchausen by proxy. Now, I found this interesting. She said, "Barefoot, I was forced to wear a dark green smock with nothing underneath. If I got my period, they'd give out special underwear, not much different from the pull-ups my mother..." You get the next one. "My mother put me in." I found that interesting because she hasn't, that I know of, accused the prison of that being any sort of abuse. And she says that that was only during her period. And we know she was also pretending to Dee Dee up until 2011 that she had less feeling and ability with her legs than what she did. So, wow, it just makes me really wonder, friends. What do y'all think? Am I right or am I reaching? Let me know. It's okay if I'm reaching. I'm not infallible. Okay, so she talks again in this last screenshot that I pulled about being on the unaliving watch. She complains. She's like, "We weren't allowed to go to canteen. We weren't allowed to go to commissary. We didn't have a mattress to sleep on. Had to eat our hand-delivered meals with cardboard spoons and forks. Not what I wanted to eat much. Can't spit away the taste of cardboard from your mouth." I mean, this all sounds awful. And then she says, With each daily cell search, the guards seemed like they'd hoped they'd find something off limits. Contraband. I felt violated and subhuman. And on top of being demoralized, nobody explained to me why I was being treated as a deplorable. Girl, you murdered your mom. Why doesn't she get what she did, friends? She says, with every search, I wondered, how do they think we would manage to get ourselves a razor, a fork, a tampon from the outside? Well, she never, that I see in this area anyway, mentions the fact that her friends had weed. She got different drugs. And she doesn't even talk about the fact while she's complaining about the prison, complaining about the hole, complaining about these subhuman conditions. She doesn't mention the fact at all that while she was in that jail in Greene County, she had consensual sex with her cellmate and then got pissed off at the cellmate and accused the cellmate of rape and got that cellmate in the hole for a period of time. She's very proud of herself that she confessed it later. She did stuff like that. And then she was like, why are they treating me like a deplorable? Well, she's in there for murder and she's already done a false rape accusation. What were they going to treat her like, friends? You know? Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. I will be back soon with a live stream, hopefully, in another video. I hope everyone's staying warm in the cold and in the storm. It is warming up in my area. We're supposed to get a 65 today. Very nice. So we'll go out with a palate cleanser. Let me know how y'all are doing in the comments and have a good day, friends.